Welcome back. I'm going to be discussing 4 things that I found that were really kind of hidden or not really as obvious as many of the other things that were shown off for Starfield at the deep dive. But these do help answer some questions as far as configuration and certain limitations that we might have on our ships. So when they were demoing off the ship customization part at the deep dive and they blew apart the main ship that they've mostly been showing off, the Frontier, into all these different components, one of the things I always thought was odd was under weapons here, they had 4 different types of weapons. And the obvious ones to spot in the game are missile, ballistic cannons, and lasers. So it always kind of left me questioning, like, what's the 4th one? Or is it like just a double laser there? So that kind of had me on the lookout to see if I can kind of find something. And I did come across a 4th weapon, but it was never equipped on a ship that they were demoing off and flying. When they cycle through a couple of different ships that are in their inventory, you can see many 3-letter designations such as LAS for laser, BAL for ballistics, MSL for missiles, and then you also see another one that says PAR. Now, if you've had a keen eye and very attentive, you have spotted this. But for many people, they probably have not, and I just wanted to bring that up. But what is PAR? Well, it seems like PAR is going to reference particle beam weapons. As during the skills part of the deep dive, they actually show a frame of the particle beam weapon system skill, which is under the tech tab of the skill tree. And if you notice what that brief description says, ship weapons utilizing particle beam technology are the preferred choice for captains who prefer to damage multiple ship systems at once. And if we go to another point during the deep dive where they are showing off upgrading a weapon system, and while it is highlighted on the left side information panel towards the bottom, there is a text that reads, "Your ship's weapons affect enemy ships differently in combat, depending on the damage type used. Energy affects shields, ballistic hull, and EM systems." So it's kind of interesting they use the designation EM here. Don't really know what EM stands for. Electromagnetic kind of doesn't make sense. So I'm kind of at a loss. So let me know if you know what EM stands for, as I was just kind of more surprised they didn't just use the PAR acronym or PBM for particle beam weapons. So there you go. Seems like we have found the 4th weapon type to go on our ships. Now, that was not the only thing that they kind of showed off during the ship customization part, as they scrolled through many different HAB modules as they are looking to upgrade the Frontier. But what was kind of interesting about these HAB modules that they kind of showed off was that they didn't just have crew stations for extra crew members, but they also had passenger slots. So for all those that are looking to do their best interstellar taxi and painting their ship yellow, it seems like we will be able to take passengers from place to place. And I guess this kind of opens up a whole different kind of dynamic. Are we going to be able to have like a party ship where we can take on a bunch of different passengers and maybe take them around for like a space cruise? So I'm going to be really curious to see just how big we can make some of these HABs be with passenger slots, just how big we can get them. If we can get like a 3x2 and maybe even carry up to like 10 passengers or something like that. Anyways, I just thought that was an interesting little find. It was kind of like a aha kind of moment, spotting those passenger slots, because you don't see it in very many other than just these 2 HAB modules. But the other thing that was kind of interesting about the HAB modules is depending upon the HAB that you pick changes the functionality of the HAB and the interior appearance. Now, I'm sure we can do some finer detail and decorations inside the HAB, but as far as the main layout, as far for different computer systems or weapon stations or crafting, those are going to be picked at the ship customization screen when you are building out your ship, not internally. Now, while we're talking about personnel that can come on our ship, it's very important to understand the limitations of the different modules that determine the number of personnel that you can have on your ship. And during the deep dive, while they are upgrading the Frontier ship, they show off this view of the selected cockpit. And what you notice is the cockpit is different, and it actually has a crew station of 2. Now, I was originally under the impression that only your HAB modules were going to be able to have crew stations or stations for your crew to bring along. And maybe there's some missing parts here because a little bit later on, as they're showing off building out another ship, they actually show off this DS30.1 Ares Bridge module for the cockpit. And you can see it has a crew station of 8, but down below the stats actually show a max crew of 5. So not sure if we're missing something as well as they're not showing something. So we'll just have to see if there are more limitations when we get our hands on it. But I thought it was just kind of interesting to see that cockpits actually do have crew stations along with them. And it's not just the HAB modules. And with that Ares bridge for the cockpit, it had a crew station of 8. So I'm going to be really curious to see just how big we are going to make some of these ships and their components. And speaking of just how big some of these ships are, they did make a pretty good impression for just showing them off on the landing platform where you're going to be able to customize and buy or sell ships. And they even do a really good job showing how Space Trucker here is walking up to a ship and showing off how large it is. But they also show off Space Trucker guy standing on top of the ship. And it really goes to show you with this shot just how large these ships are. So if you never noticed Space Trucker guy with his cowboy hat standing there before, it just goes to show that he is a dwarf on this massive, massive ship, as you don't even notice really he's there. And it's also kind of funny because he's actually standing there next to those weapon systems, and you can just see how large those weapon systems are as well. So there you go. Those are 4 things that you might not have noticed about the Starfield Direct Deep Dive. Let me know which ones you knew about. So I got plenty more to come in the next few days. Alrighty, take care.